There we go. Here we go. Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely, dovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
We have a lot to cover and not a lot of time to do this because we're recording this later than we usually do. So we're going to just jump right into it so we can get done before the game starts tonight. So we'll talk Leafs and Islanders. I don't have a lot of notes for this one because, to be honest, outside of a couple of things, it was kind of just like I don't know. There wasn't a lot out of this game that like stood out to me. I was like, this is just a Leafs overtime loss on the road and the start of a back-to-back with half the team sick. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was a game.
It was a game in December played by the Leafs. Like, other than it being against the Islanders, so it's in Long Island. So that means that, of course, obviously there was boos for Tavares as soon as he touched the ice, which is not a can of worms I want to reopen in terms of like discourse, because that's what my timeline was, or like all this week. I feel like was just, you know, Leafs fans being like, "Hey, why are you still doing this? It's been 6 years," and Islanders being like, "Well, he left us and betrayed us. He's a fucking snake," and it's like, no. And then people being like, well, here's this evidence where it was the front office saying we didn't want to trade him even though we knew he was going into free agency, and then him never asking for a trade. So, and then him going to play for his hometown team. Like,
yeah, and the thing is, like, I've literally just put, like, I have 2 bullet points for this, and I've literally got lost but JT 1,000 points, so. And yeah. I just got Isles fans need to grow up.
Yeah. Islanders fans, yeah. And I know we have some bias here because we are Leafs fans, and we're not. It's not a secret about it. We spend half of our show, each episode, talking about the Leafs, and we talk about them all the time and that sort of thing. But it's just a thing of like, I don't know. I feel like it's been 6 years. Get over it. Yeah. Like, I feel like next time.
Everyone just kind of completely ignores the fact that he was given the opportunity to go play for his hometown team. Like, you can complain about it all you want, but you would do the exact same thing.
Oh, I would do the exact same thing in a heartbeat. Fucking, like, spotlight media, whatever Ryan O'Reilly said, my ass. Like, I would play. Like, if I was, I don't know, if A, I was a dude, and B, was good enough at hockey to play in the NHL, I would love the chance to play for my hometown team. Exactly. Especially, when I grew up a fan of that team. And John Tavares had an opportunity to do that in free agency, and he took it. And honestly, I don't blame him for it. And I'm sure a lot of people across the sport of hockey would do the exact same thing in his place. Right? Like, sorry that he didn't want to stay in Long Island. Like, okay. Samsonov started net. Obviously it's a back-to-back, so we'll talk about Jones. We'll talk about Jones and versus the Rangers a little bit later. But John Tavares. So it was the dad's trip. It was in Long Island. So obviously the narratives are all gonna come falling into place. And John Tavares scores a point. Scores his 1,000th career NHL point to become the 98th player in NHL history to hit the milestone, with his dad in the stands watching, and in front of the team that drafted him. And to add to everything, the team that drafted him in 2009, he is also the player that has the most points, goals, assists, and games played out of that draft class.
Look at him go.
So, and I will say I'm like slightly disappointed that they, like, I'm actually UBS Arena showed a graphic on the Jumbotron during the game when he hit the milestone. I'm a little bit disappointed in Islanders fans for booing him. Whatever. I'm like, whatever about booing him when he's on the ice, when he's playing, when he has the puck, whatever. But booing him when he hits 1,000 points, which is a career milestone. Again, 98th player out of 100 years of the NHL, over 100 years of the NHL. to hit that milestone, and he gets booed. Like, he scored most of those points for your team, right?
Yeah.
You would think you could at least
700 something points
Yeah.
were scored with the Islanders. Like, have some class.
You don't even have to like applaud or anything. Just don't do anything if you don't want to cheer. Don't, like, that's the thing where I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna be like, fuck, Ryan O'Reilly could hit 1,000 points in Scotiabank Arena, and I feel like he's still gonna get a cheer. I don't know why I'm using Ryan O'Reilly so much, but he's the most recent Leaf who's still an active player who left and then openly criticized the market and said the reason why he didn't re-sign was because it's Toronto. So, and he also was the most recent player to get booed in Scotiabank Arena, which he did when Nashville came to Toronto. I just think that his dad in the stands, that purest reaction video, his dad when he scored at 1,000 points, and then there's Paul fucking Marner. Look,
that man.
I have made my opinions on Paul Marner very, very clear on Twitter. I despise the man. I hate him so very much. There's a video that exists on YouTube that's very easy to find because all you have to search is Mitch Marner as a child or something along those lines, young Mitch Marner. And there's a video that was published, and I found it because I was looking for footage for an edit that I made for about Mitch Marner. And this was a news story where it was talking about I think it was probably broadcasted on CTV or whatever, of GTA, so Toronto area parents, hockey parents. And that's what the story was. And the point of the reason why I think it's so interesting to look back on it is the other parents that they mentioned, like, that were featured, one of them was the McLeod's mother. Like, Ryan McLeod, Michael McLeod, like, of, if you read, like, of, Dylan Strome and kind of like that generation, right? It's all like that generation.
Just immediately like Dylan Strome.
But and I want to say the other one, I think there was 3, and then the other one was Paul Marner, and then there was, or maybe it was just, anyways, but yes. Oh no, and then it was the Strome parents, because it was not Dylan Strome though, it was one of the brothers. It was one of his brothers. Because he has I think, hold on. I'm gonna continue talking. Anyways, and you see the night and day difference between.
Like, you can. Oh God, I hate watching this so much because it's like.
It's if you want to watch the most uncomfortable. Oh, it was for Global, but if you want to watch the most. Okay, so it was Mitch Marner and Michael McLeod's parents, so it was just the 2 of them. But if you want to watch the most uncomfortable, like, if you ever get uncomfortable from when you're at, like, a kid's sporting event and you see one of the parents who's just yelling at the ref, if you want to experience that feeling, watch that documentary, because that's what Paul Marner is like. Like, he's, and the documentary tries to throw it off as lighthearted, but it's like, I cannot believe that Mitch Marner he must really love playing hockey. And he must have really loved playing hockey as a kid, because I've seen those parents too many times in my own experience of me as an athlete and also as a coach. I've seen those parents way too many times, and then eventually the kid falls out of love with the sport and stops doing it because of the pressure that the parent is putting on. So his love, anyways, all this is all looping back to is the reaction to John Tavares getting his 1,000 points and his dad reaction. And then you see Paul Marner stand up and not even smile.
Just like,
the man,
just like,
he just stands up. His son's captain for his favorite team, his son's favorite team, scores his 1,000th point in his NHL career, and you don't even smile?
Yeah. And because it's like you literally sat next to his dad.
He's right
How are you
there.
not going to turn around and like be happy for him? How are you literally just, you're not even going to turn around, you just stand there and just go, And it's like,
your
how
son
are
was
you that much of a dickhead?
that goal too. your son was also on the ice for that goal. I actually don't know who got the second the second assist on that goal, because it was a Morgan Riley goal. The Morgan Riley goal.
Which I have something to say about that.
It was a Morgan Riley goal. This game was on. Oh, I hate the fucking NHL app. Just let me. Sorry, I'm mad at the NHL. Okay, so it was a Nylander assist, but your son was on the ice for that. Like,
it's just how.
And people wonder why Mitch Marner latches onto any father figure who ever joins the Toronto. Yeah. And you look at that and you see why, and you wonder how such a miserable man could produce a happy, like, very positive son.
Yeah, it's like the difference between them is insane.
Yeah, but I know. Congratulations to John Tavares. At that point, like, he hit his 1,000th point. I didn't even care what the outcome of the game was. I was like, yay, they tied. John Tavares hit 1,000. He got it.
Everyone's like, oh, they still lost though, and it's like, yeah, but no one's gonna remember that. That's just another loss. Surprise, surprise.
It's like, that's the thing where it's like the Leafs right now, like, they're in a situation where it was like they're just trying to get through these games until they have players that are healthy. Like, as a Leafs fan, like, we're gonna, like, look back at this game at the end of the season, and we're gonna be John Tavares scores his 1,000th point. We're gonna look back at that game, and we're gonna be, it was a December game, it was on the road, it was the first half of a back-to-back, half the team is sick. I think probably the entire team is sick at this point, considering how it's being talked about by players and coaches and all that stuff, and the media as well. And they still got a point because they lost. It went to overtime. They lost in overtime. They still got a point. So it wasn't a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Right? I see that as a Leafs fan who has been, like, I see that as a win. At the end, when we look back at this game at the end of the season, I'm going to see it as a win. Even though technically it's a loss, I see it as a win. The Leafs are, like, have a ridiculous record in the past whatever games. It's like their last 10 is something stupid. So, you know what? I see this as a win for sure. Cal keeps retweeting stuff, and I keep getting the Twitter notifications.
I keep looking over and I'm like, what's happening? It's funny. But yeah, I think so it was such, like, Morgan Riley scores the goal that gets John Tavares his 1,000th point. Morgan Riley, hopeful future captain of the league, scores the goal that helps the current captain get his 1,000th point. Oh, the narratives.
I know, there's so many narratives in that, like, one thing. And then also the other narrative is that the leadership group of the league, essentially probably the 6 guys who are on the ice, right? Most of the guys that are on the ice, that first power play unit, which is whatever, they were all told by the league, they had a meeting with the league where the league was like, if he hits his 1,000th point and it's not in overtime or whatever, the team is allowed to celebrate off the bench, because usually you have to get special permission for that sort of thing in advance in order to not get a delay of game penalty, right? So the league, but the thing is, and this is so fun, and I think Morgan Riley said this, where it was the meeting, everyone, and a joke was made at the time of that meeting of, like, what happens if it's on the power play? Because all the guys who were in that meeting would be on the ice, so there'd be no one on the bench to tell them, hey, we can get off. And you can see it in their celebration too afterwards, as they're waving all the guys off the bench of, like, hey, come on, you can come, like, we're allowed to. And they're all little, like, and you can see the benches, like, looking around at each other being like, we can go, because it was a 6-on-5. They had pulled the goalie, so their power play unit was out. And so it was like, you know, that meeting included Tavares, it included Matthews, it included Riley, it included Mitch, included Marner, probably included Nylander, honestly, if we're to be honest, because he, you know, right, like, he's not on Tavares' line, and even though he doesn't have an A as much as I feel like he should, especially with his, like, he shows a lot of leadership with not just this, but, like, the European guys.
Yeah.
As much, but, you know, you can't just be like the Rangers and giving out A's to everyone. They have so many. I remember when they released that graphic for their leadership group, and there was so many A's. There were so many A's. I was like, why do you need this many? And then here I'm being like, give Nylander the A. Give him the A. I think he should have one. I think he should. But
it's fine when we get Captain Morgan Riley. Nylander can get the A.
Nylander signs his 8-year contract at whatever is projected.
When he signs an 8-year contract, then he can have the A.
When he signs that 8-year contract at what now I feel like is everyone's predicting like a $12 million cap. I feel like every month it goes up at this point. By the time we hit like April, it's gonna be at the max like 16 million.
I'm like, you should have just fucking sorted it out before this season, because now look how much more it's gonna cost us.
Oh my god, I know. That's the thing where I was like, you should have just done it when you did Austin's, get them both done together, and then now everyone be like, oh wow, that like $8 million signed Nylander for next year looks really great right now. Yeah.
Yeah, because like we don't even have the power of Kyle to bring him back.
No, we've got Brad. Sorry, Brad.
He just doesn't have the charm.
Yeah, so that was a 4-3 overtime loss for the Leafs. Let's talk about Leafs and Rangers though, because this is gonna be a much more fun game to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Nye's out with illness, which obviously there's definitely something going around in the locker room. I felt so proud of myself when I saw that picture that they posted of the team with, for Tavares, and they had like it was the team picture, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute, someone's missing here, and I made a brilliant joke. I was so proud of myself on this. I was like, this felt like something where I was like, this is me being hilarious. As Nyes wasn't in that picture, and I'm looking back, I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm like, I want to see like where Nyes is standing, because I was like wondering where he'd be standing, because it's his landlord / dad who hit 1,000 points. I was like trying to zoom in, and I was like, I can't find him. And then I was like, oh my god, he's not in the picture. He's either A, sick, which he was, we just didn't know at the time, or B, he's reenacting Home Alone 2 Lost in New York and is somewhere trying to, I don't know, he's trying to buy out a toy store or something. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the plot of that movie, and all that's coming to my head is the lady with the birds in Central Park, and then Donald Trump in the Plaza Hotel lobby.
Yeah, that's pretty much the plot, to be fair.
That's the plot of the movie. But yeah, so he was sick. There's definitely something going around the locker room for sure. I feel like it's not, I would assume most, if not that entire lineup, is playing sick.
Oh yeah.
Right.
For sure.
But that does mean that we went with a 7-11 lineup because there was no Reeves. Thank God. But that also means that who got the promotion up to the top line? Noted bottom line and not friend of the show, but 4th line favorite Noah Gregor.
Oh god,
we love when one of our 4th line guys makes it up to the top line. I love this quote from Sheldon Keefe where he's like, oh, someone asked him being like, oh, how long did it take you to decide to put Noah Gregor on the top line? And he said, it took me 3 seconds to decide. And I think part of that reason is because Calle Yarncroke, usually that's where you would put Calle Yarncroke. I think last season Sheldon Keefe, if Michael Bunting, there we go. Michael Bunting was out sick and couldn't play, and you needed someone to go in that top line spot, you would have put Calle Yarncroke. Right?
Oh,
that's what I would have done. But that 3rd line of Yarncroke, Domi, and Robertson is so good right now and so dynamic and so solid and is probably the most consistent line night in, night out in terms of what they do, that Keefe doesn't want to split them up and doesn't want, even though Yarncroke would have been fine on the top line, that's not the performance you're worried about. You're worried about that 3rd line of like, okay, so you move. So then you're going back up to having Camp centering that 3rd line and Domi and a winger. And we know from experience that didn't work.
No.
Right? There's a reason that's not a line anymore, and Nyes was on the top line. Right? And so I think that was his decision, and I think it was a good one. I think, Noah Gregor has a lot of speed and physicality that, for a couple nights, that works. yeah, Jones gets the start versus Shesterkin. Expected. Yeah, I do want to say Noah Gregor got an assist like 4 minutes into the game from the bench because he does a drop pass to Nylander, who then brings it up through the ice. I think he dekes through like 3 different guys, passes it to Austin, who scores. And in the time that Gregor did the drop pass to the time the goal was scored was 14 seconds. Which is insanity. You're like, what the fuck? But yeah, got a bench assist, got an assist. So as you can see, obviously working. And then, and noted offensive power, Connor Timmins with the goal, with the slap shot. And Shesterkin's reaction on that was not happy about it.
No.
No, he was not happy about it. But yeah, Blake Wheeler then gets one to make it 2-1. Always forget that he's a Ranger now. Still think he's on the Jets.
I was only literally watched the game and it just hit me that he's not with the Jets anymore. And I'm like,
yeah.
When did that happen?
That was one of the signings that happened on, I think it happened on July 1st. That was one of the signings that I feel like a lot of people missed because Twitter decided to have a breakdown. And I think a lot of people missed that one. And a lot of people don't watch a lot of Rangers games if you're a Leafs fan, just because, I don't know, you just don't. And so a lot of people, it was probably one of their first Rangers games of the season. And and they were like, wait a minute. When did Blake
What's he doing here? Where did he come from?
But yeah, Calle Yarncroke. I'm just rushing through a couple of these because, Calle Yarncroke has a nice one. Then 20 seconds later, Mitch Marner. Whoop-de-doo. Again, they cut to the dad box after that goal. And why does Brian Matthews seem more happy about Mitch Marner scoring than his own father? People never we know, but I'm like, what the fuck?
Come on.
Anyways, love Brian Matthews. We're going to talk about Brian Matthews a little bit because I have him as multiple notes in here about how much I love Brian Matthews. I shed a little bit of a tear for my fantasy team though, however, because Shesterkin is one of my fantasy goalies.
Ouch.
Look, when I drafted him in August, because I think that's when we did our fantasy draft, I thought I was going to be really solid with a fantasy tandem of Samsonov and Shesterkin. I am now regretting that decision. I was ready to make fun of you for drafting Joseph Woll in the first round.
First pick for me. I think I did 7th overall.
I could have drafted Joseph Woll before you, and I didn't, and I'm regretting it now.
Oh yeah. Although at least when you go on to check your team, you don't have to have the absolute heartbreaking moment of scrolling down to be like, who's playing, and then seeing Joseph Woll on IR, because that kills me every single time. And I have him on. I have 3 fantasy teams, and I have Joseph Woll on every single one. So there's no escape. It's just constant.
Yeah, but I do have to see every time that Andrei Shevchenko is out. So.
True.
And I can't put him on my IR because that's where Thomas Chabot has been living now for the past, it feels like, 3 months. It hasn't been that long, but it feels like it. Anyways, yeah, so unfortunate for my fantasy team, this game really was. And then also, of course, at the same time, the Leafs 4-1 score and the fear that causes sets in as well.
No, I had tweets drafted to be like, it was forward. I was like ready to go.
Well, it seemed like that at a moment because there was a couple good saves made by Jones when the Leafs would make mistakes. Also, I had a note that Robertson is fast. But yeah, then Mika Zibanejad makes it 4-2. Thank you. He's on my fantasy team. And then Blake Wheeler makes it 4-3, in which then there's also the fear of Blake Wheeler potentially getting a hat trick against your team. And then there's another sense of fear. And then, yeah, and I have in parentheses here, see what I mean about 4-1? But then there's this chance that the Leafs have out in front where it's a little bit of a mad scramble in front of the net. And then they show a clip of Brian Matthews reacting to that. And all I have for note about that is Brian Matthews is Leafs Nation. You can see him get up, get down, get up, put the hands in the air. And he like, it's like, he thinks it goes in at one point and he's like, and then he realizes he's like, oh, and I was like, you sir like, get it. He
really is just one of those.
He bleeds blue. He has the passion. he knows. He's watched as much as we have. But yeah. And then I have Mitch Marner is on Hattie Watch with a genius deflection off of a Riley shot to make it 5-3, and then we all breathed out a sigh of relief. And I love this after Mitch was asked about it in his post game about, you know, kind of, hey, did you like, how did that goal kind of come about? Because it was a smart goal. He said that it was a set play between him and Riley based on the New York Rangers penalty kill setup. Right? Like it was, they had noticed that this structure exists within the Rangers penalty kill, and they had discussed it in advance before the game of like, hey, maybe this is something that we do. And it worked. And I'm like, and that's when you see the hockey IQ of Mitch Marner.
Oh yeah.
The two of them. I'm not even dissing Morgan Riley and saying he's not. He also has a very high hockey IQ, but you know, Mitch Marner's hockey IQ is ridiculous. And you see it in an example like this where it's like something that they notice where it's like they don't even play the Rangers all that often. They play them twice a year. And it's something that he noticed. He was like, oh, they do this one play on their penalty kill. This one positioning in front of the net. And hey, maybe if we try this, where you take a shot and I deflect it in, it'll work. And it crazy. And then Jake McCabe with the big hit off of Ryan Lindgren.
He heard me saying that I forgot he existed sometimes, and he went, I think the fuck not. Because I genuinely, I stood up. I had to stand up. I was like, what the fuck?
The screenshots of it are amazing. Tic Tac Omar, of course, was busy clipping like a madman that game. He has a tweet break like of the slow-mo of the hit. Ryan Lindgren goes horizontal mid-air. That is huge, and it's clean. It's clean. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, there's people being like, oh, that's a dirty. It's a clean hit. There's no head contact. Ryan Lindgren just got caught with the puck with his head down. It was just a big hit. And that's where I think this league, I don't want to say this league is having a problem, but that's where I'm saying it's like not every big hit is a dirty hit. Some like you can have big hits that are clean. So that doesn't mean that every time there's a big hit you have to go after the guy. Because for the second time in how many games, Jake McCabe lays a big hit and then had a big clean hit and then has another player go after him afterwards for it because Vanajad went after McCabe and fought him for it. There's no need for that. Like I get standing up for your teammate, whatever, but I'm like, no. You don't have to, like, if we want to keep big hits and like, we just have to make sure they're clean. And now this opens a whole other discussion can of worms that we really don't have time for because we have a lot to get through, but it's just one of those things where I was like, it's a clean hit. You don't have to fight him afterward. And then this is my next note after this. I can't even remember what he did, but he must have done something where he set up a good scoring chance because I wrote down, is Noah Gregor more than just a bottom line blorbo?
Have we underestimated him?
I saw people comparing him to Kerfoot, but who could actually finish plays. I saw someone compare it to Kerfoot, but if Kerfoot could actually finish plays on Twitter.
Oh my. I mean, they wouldn't be wrong.
I actually don't know how many goals Kerfoot has this year. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna just look that up just to see. Because how much are we paying? We're paying Noah Gregor what, 900,000? Alex.
Yeah.
Kerfoot's what? He signed a 1 point something deal, eh? Oh, okay. So he's a lot of assists. I forgot that on the line that he's on, he's a lot of assists. But
Like,
Noah Gregor has more goals than Alex Kerfoot.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's also you have to think about you have to think about the lines that both of them are on. But yeah, Noah Gregor has 4 goals. Alex Kerfoot has 2. But Alex Kerfoot has 13 assists, so he has a total of 15 points. Noah Gregor only has 2 assists. But you also have to think about the line. You have to think about the line that Noah Gregor is on compared to the line that Kerfoot's on as well.
And it's like Noah Gregor's not been playing not played as many games either, I don't think.
I think that they've played the same amount of games, just not the same amount of minutes. They're not getting the same minutes.
Yeah.
Gregor's getting less minutes than Kerfoot would in a night. But yeah. That's just I think we also are paying Kerfoot way less. We're not paying Kerfoot. Sorry, we're his. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm trying to find his. Oh, I don't want to look up Cat Friendly. You want to know who people also search for though? When you know how like Google does their like people also search for. You want to know who the top result is?
Hitman.
Justin Hall. I shit you not. When you search up Alex Kerfoot, there's the people also search for, and it's Justin Hall.
Wait.
Holy shit! $3.5 million. Is that what Arizona's paying him?
That's insane.
It's 2 seasons, but it's a $7 million. Holy crap! I didn't realize it was so much. If I was Bill Armstrong, would I have paid Alexander Kerfoot $3.5 million? No. No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's ridiculous. Yeah, then Austin Matthews with his second of the night to make it 6-3. I just have this fun fact. 69th time that Matthews and Marner have scored in the same game. Leafs were 59-4-5 in the previous 68 contests. So that makes them 64-5 in 69 contests. Nice. I think it's pretty cool that Leafs tend to win when Matthews and Marner score in the same game. And then also 6 goals is the most a team has scored on Shesterkin since November 6, 2021.
Yeah.
Looping back to the first period, though, this is a fun stat. I love. Shout out to Sportsnet stats for this because they're great. They're so great at finding our like the little niche stats that were like, why would anyone know this? Why would anyone know to look for this during the game? But Leafs have scored 4 first period goals at MSG. The first time they have done this since March 9th, 1944. There was only 6 teams in the league at this time. It'll also during World War II. I love what the Leafs do. That's the thing with the Leafs right now is like every so often they'll do something where it's like the Leafs have not done this since World War II. And I'm like, what do you mean?
It's like,
and then starts the question of, is this the best Leafs team we've ever seen? Is this the best? I'm not gonna. Nope. Because I keep saying things that are gonna get clipped, and then are gonna be like every time, and then someone's gonna come up with like a compilation of every time Emma says something absolutely ridiculous on the podcast. That is so very wrong. I'm so nervous someone's gonna do that, and it's just gonna. We're just gonna get a tweet one day where it's like every time Emma says something absolutely ridiculous on the podcast.
Yeah, plot twist is from me.
Plot twist. Marcie's been writing down notes of every time I say something extremely out of pocket, and has been like, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do this in a couple months. David Camp with the empty net to make it 7-3. And then we have this clip. Oh my god, I love this clip of Brian Matthews and Ty Domi in the dad box.
Absolute icon.
Look, Ty Domi also has played for the Rangers and has played for the Leafs. But I love them. I loved Ty Domi when he was a Leaf. I had a little bit against Ty Domi when he was no longer a Leaf and no longer playing hockey because he used to do TV commercials for Comwave, which is like internet and cell phone home phone provider, And those commercials would drive me bananas because they would be everywhere. And it would be Ty Domi going, "You want to stand up to the big guys?" And it was like, in my hockey career, I was so sick of it. I was so sick of the Ty Domi Comwave commercials. But now that he doesn't do those anymore, because I'm pretty sure Comwave no longer exists as a company, I actually love Ty Domi again. Shout out to Ty Domi and Brian Matthews bringing the bestie energy.
Oh, they were having the time of their lives.
They were singing, they were dancing, they were having a great time. But
so, you know what? They would both be like the absolute best people to just get absolutely hammered with.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's something I need to do in my life at some point. I don't know how.
Go on a bar crawl with Ty Domi and Brian Matthews. Hey, at Leafs, if you want a charity fundraiser, put this as a silent auction option to go on a Toronto bar crawl with Leafs legend Ty Domi and the father of future Leafs legend Brian Matthews. It's just
money.
We'd spend so much money on.
Oh my god, take it all.
It would be fantastic. Oh, okay, sorry. I just am getting. Okay, nope. It's Cal reposting something. Stop doing this, Cal.
Fucking hell, Cal. Stressing us out.
Okay. I know. It's because I got a Sportsnet notification at the same time, so that's why I was actually nervous. Turns out it's just Shohei Ohtani speaking to the media after signing with the Dodgers. So, fucking hell. So, yeah, little Leafs look ahead because they play 2 games before our next episode on Monday. Obviously, there's a bug going around the locker room, flu, whatever it may be. So, tonight versus Columbus Blue Jackets at 7. Samsonov gets a start. Nyes is still out with illness. He was skating today in practice, but not 100%, so he will not be playing. That Gregor, top line again. Let's go. Yeah. And Keith said other stuff is happening that may affect lineup. Now, I don't know if that means that he's referring to the fact that there's still injuries that the team is facing that affects the way that their lineup is looking, or if he's saying that the lineup is going to look different than against the Rangers on Tuesday again. Like, it's going to look different from that lineup because of other things. Is there
a
Sheldon, trade?
What are you plotting? What are you planning?
What are you plotting? This could just be Sheldon keeping other things, as in the fact that Timothy Liljegren and Mark Giordano are still hurt. And nothing else.
Liljegren is looking good now. He will be back very soon.
Yeah, Liljegren is close to returning. It's just all about conditioning now. It's just, getting his legs back under him and, getting the fact that he'll be able to play a full game and not have to be out it. It's just getting that back, and that's all it is. It's just he's perfectly good to skate, which now I know they're 2 different positions of players, but we can kind of take this as a timeline for Joseph Woll because they both had the same injury. So we can kind of, it's month and a half, 6 weeks is probably what we're looking at.
Yeah. So. Which means that, fingers crossed, all goes well, February 19th, Joseph Woll will be starting against the St. Louis Blues.
In St. Louis.
In St. Louis. In front of his family.
His family was there, yeah.
I've drafted about it already.
Oh my god, it's been circled in my calendar. I'm so excited. I can't wait. That's a game where I'm can't wait to watch.
I will sit there in my Woll jersey.
Oh yeah, that's a game I'm breaking out the Woll jersey, but I don't usually watch games in my jersey. I did during the playoffs.
The Leafs suit pics have just dropped. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's just Austin. It's not. Ignore me. It's just Austin.
It's just us. Is that from last year? Is that from last year?
I think so. I don't know. It could be.
The tag says to Poppy from Felix though as well.
Yeah, isn't that what last year said? Or
I
don't know.
I don't have time to scroll back through that, but and then Saturday though, I thought someone got traded. Sorry, Saturday versus Pittsburgh. This is the Kyle Dubas. Now, it's not the first time the Leafs have played the Penguins this season, but it is Kyle Dubas' return to Toronto. I'm going to have friends at that game, so I'm going to send them on a little mission to locate Kyle Dubas. These are the same friends who, Marcie knows about this, but these are the same friends who went to Florida for game 4 of round 2 and ran into Matthew. Like, they somehow had a conversation with Matthew Nyes. Somehow they were around the press box. I guess where the Panthers play, it's, the seats are close to the press. I don't know. But they had a conversation with Matthew Nyes. They took a picture with Matthew Nyes, and they were like, yeah. And they asked him, they were like, when are you coming? When can you come back? And he's like, soon. And then it turns out if they had played like game 6, he would have been coming back. Yeah. But I was like, well, he was right. But yeah, so maybe I'll just, they seem to have good luck with that. So maybe I'll just send them to go find Kyle Dubas and Jason Spezza.
I don't know. A hot nerd in glasses with his emotional support. Slightly questionable friendship. Like, just have a little look.
Yeah. I know there is no suit pictures, which is it's 4/14. We usually get them by now. Anyways, doesn't matter.
And I got really excited, and then I realized we wouldn't get Wolves anyway, so I was like, no.
That the first game after he gave
No, the first time the suit picture drops, and I was like searching for him. I was like, where's he gone? And then I was like, oh, well, fuck me. Mm-hmm. It killed me a little bit.
Just want to say quick while we're on the topic of the Leafs, say a quick congratulations to Easton Cohen and Fraser Mitten for officially making the Team Canada's World Junior squad. Again, like I said, we're going to do a full preview episode about World Juniors and go over the rosters and go over that sort of things and expectations and everything. We're just waiting for the final rosters to come out from the respective teams. There's only a couple that have released their final rosters. Team Canada being Finland, Czechia, I think is the other, or Sweden. No, Sweden has done theirs, Czechia has done theirs, Canada's done it. Finland still has to do cuts to their roster. But yeah, so congratulations to them. There was a really cute video today put out by Hockey Canada of them going around to the hotel rooms and handing their little Team Canada sweaters. And you saw I tweeted about this. There's a picture of Fraser and Easton answering the door. If you haven't seen it, Easton, if you haven't seen it, Easton Cohen was wearing like a Leafs like quarter zip shirt, which I was like, he packed his Leafs gear. I think that's the same thing he signed his ELC in as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, he probably has like 7 of them. They probably gave him a full box of stuff, but the fact that he chose to bring that to his Team Canada camp is really special. But switch of gears really quickly, though. We'll talk about the All-Star Game. The All-Star Game skills competition format was announced this past week. There's going to be a change to it from what we've seen previous years. It's going to be more of a competition over an overall competition. 12 skaters will compete in different events for a $1 million prize. Connor McDavid helped with the format. Apparently, the league went to him for a lot of feedback on it, which I think seems right. He seems to be the guy who will be probably competing in it.
Yeah.
So the first 8 contestants will be selected from the pool of 44 All-Star Game players by the league and the Players Association. The final 4 will be voted in by fans from the 32 remaining players in that pool of those who are selected for the All-Star Game. That will all happen in January. I think January 12th or 13th is that's when it'll all be announced of the players and that sort of thing. They will compete in their choice of 4 of 6 events and will gather points. Kind of in a motorsports-esque point system where each place gets you a certain amount of points, and it starts at first place will get you 6 points and it goes all the way, or 5 points or something, and it goes all the way down to 6th place will get you 0 points. There'll be traditional events, none of that dunk tank, surfboards, closest to the hole, whatever we got last year in Florida, none of that. It'll be traditional events such as fastest skater, hardest shot, stick handling, one-timers, passing challenge, and accuracy shooting. The top 8 based on points will move to the shootout, where it'll be a reverse. There will be a draft for the all-star goaltenders for those final 8 to choose from. So the 8th place will pick their goalie first, and then 7th will pick their goalie second, and it goes on, so forth. The top 6 from that will move on to an obstacle course that will combine multiple skills. And then the winner of that gets a $1 million prize, which I'm sure for some of these guys is a drop in the bucket. Like,
$9 million.
I mean, it's no whatever the Chipotle for a year or for life that Nick Suzuki got, which is so funny because there is not a Chipotle location located in the province of Quebec in which he plays. So I thought I was like, yeah, you could use it on road trips or whatever. I'm like, that guy's he can't use it though when he's at the place where he spends most of his time, which is Montreal. I think he also, I don't know if he lives there now full time. I think he does. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think there was also a couple of things from like agents and things like that being like they want something more for the goalies because they're usually the goalies also have their own thing. Usually it's like a save challenge or whatever where they have to see how many saves they can make in a row, that sort of thing. So I think there's kind of a push from agents and probably backed by players being like, hey, we want to be a little bit more involved if we want something competitive too, because it is limited. Like only skaters can win this $1 million, which is kind of unfair when you think about it. It's like they're kind of like goalies really only have one thing that they can be involved in, which is the shootout, which is associated with the players competition, but then they don't even get anything for it. Like they don't get a prize or like any sort of recognition. So I think there should be something additional for the goalies because goalies are fun and we love goalies on the show.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say as to goalie enjoyers, I want to see more goalie involvement.
Yeah. Especially like
my prediction, Noah Gregor 2024 All-Star.
Noah Gregor.
Noah Gregor wins $1 million.
Yeah, and then there was just a note at the bottom that was like at the bottom. I'm taking this all from a Luke Fox Sportsnet article. Just the next year, it'll be if this works and if they decide to continue on with this sort of format for the All-Star, like for the skills competition, they will keep the winner. The winner will return, but then they will have to face off against 11 new players. So it'll be like sort of a thing where it's like you can continue to try and win, but you will face off against 11 new guys, which I think really is great at, sort of spreading around the talent. There's a lot of talent in this league and it's hard to limit down to the like best 12, right? When you think about how many amazing players are in this league. I'm even having trouble of like thinking about like who would be the 44 guys to go at this point, right? It's still early, right? Like you're like, even like I'm like, who would be the 8 goalies who would go? That's what I'm think about who would be the 8 goalies to go to the I mean, you probably Allmark, right? Yeah. Allmark. Would you send Vasilevsky? No.
I think I had a certain favorite goalie of the podcast
not been injured. We can make a run for Joseph Woll NHL All-Star.
Like if
I'd buy that jersey. I'd buy that jersey.
Oh,
in a heartbeat.
Like no questions. But like the thing is, if he hadn't been injured and he carried on at the rate he's going, there was a very strong possibility that he could have gone.
Yeah, because you have to think about it's probably 2 goalies per division. Who would be the other goalie from the East who is good right now? Besides like Allmark, Swayman, would you send 2 guys from the same team? No. I wouldn't.
No.
You'd get outrage from the fans on that. I'm trying to think of like, no, you wouldn't send Husso or Alex Lyon. No one from Buffalo. You wouldn't send the Ottawa guys. Not Montreal. No. Who's in net for Florida? Who's Bobrovsky? No. You wouldn't send Bobrovsky. I keep thinking of that old TSN clip of it's Bobrovsky. I always imagine his name like that because I grew up with like that TSN inside joke of that. Oh god. I'm like running through the division. I'm like, who else? You wouldn't send Vasilevsky because he hasn't had a great like stellar start to his season. He also started the season hurt. He missed quite a bit of the first start of the season. Yeah. Anyways, we're not gonna sit here and ponder the All-Stars months away, but
we've got time for that in the future.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I am like thinking about for sure. Also to talk about as well, this is kind of where I get to go off a little bit. Washington Capitals are moving to Virginia. Monument Sports, who is the ownership group behind the Washington Capitals and the Washington Wizards, which is the NBA team, announced that an agreement has been reached for the Capitals and the Wizards to move to Virginia in the area of Potomac Yard by 2028, which is close to an airport, just of note. A couple notes that I've seen from people who are from the DC region, because I am not from DC. I've never been to DC. It's more inaccessible by transit than the previous location, which was right in the heart of downtown. Worst traffic will happen because it's less accessible by transit, so people will be more inclined to drive. Lower hourly wage in the state of Virginia than in DC. Here's a fun little note to just show how much I am begging for a downtown Ottawa Senators arena. It is still closer to the old arena than the Canadian Tire Centre is to Ottawa City Hall, which is in the core of downtown. Yeah, I'm well aware of how far I have to travel. That's why I think I give a very fun perspective of just like, hey, I live in a city where it is very inaccessible. Like, it's hard for me to get out to the Canadian Tire Centre by bus from where I live. I live in downtown Ottawa. It requires me to take the train or a bus, take the O train to all the way to the end of the line, then get on a bus and take it multiple stops all the way out to Canada, which is the suburbs. It's like an hour and a half. Yeah, it's an hour and a half. And by car it's better. I will say there's some traffic. I did the drive actually very recently, of course, when I went to the Sens game, and we drove. But then getting out of the Canadian Tire parking lot, the Canadian Tire Centre parking lot, is the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. It's awful. It's awful. And we were parked close to an exit, and it still took us 30 minutes to get out of the parking lot after the game.
Jesus. Yeah.
Because it's not a great experience, and you're then forcing everyone to drive. And if you don't know, like, it's just not good. The other thing as well is it's apparently, I've heard that it's that where the current arena is now, it's actually it supports the community in a way where there's a lot of restaurants and bars in that area that, you know, kind of depend on having game days there for both teams. And then when they move out to Virginia, there would be a full concourse with restaurants and bars, whatever, yes, but it'll all be owned by Monumental Sports.
Yeah.
And not owned by individual business owners, which I'm like, really? So, you know, it's just one of those things where it's the way that public transit works specifically and why it's more inaccessible is, yes, there is a transit train stop at Potomac Yard. The only thing is that it is to get there, it's work in the way where a lot of American public transit systems, where it's meant to take you into downtown, but it's not meant to take you from the areas around downtown between each other. So if you lived in multiple parts of Washington, wherever, you would have to go almost into the downtown core and then transfer trains and then come back out of downtown. It just, Soup picks.
Yep. TJ Brody.
How many buttons does he have? Sorry. Ooh,
he's got his coat on.
He does have his coat on. Anyways, we got distracted by Leafs and Soups. But yeah, I personally think it's dumb. I think, you know, you are not making it easier for any fans at all. I think it's going to be a way to ice out a lot of the fan base as well. And the timing is not going to be great as either. You're going to be building this new arena that no one really likes of where it's located. Everyone thinks it's just going to be an awful experience. Around the same time that you you could. It's by 2028. You're probably gonna lose Alex Ovechkin in that time.
Oh yeah.
Right. We're probably gonna see the retirement of Alexander Ovechkin in the next few years. You're probably going to lose Ovechkin, which is a huge draw. At the same time of you're going to move your arena to a place that's less accessible for fans to get to.
Yeah.
I've also heard that there's nothing really wrong with the current arena, so it's just a choice that I don't personally agree with as someone who lives in a city that has a very inaccessible NHL arena to people who live in the downtown or who don't have cars, which is I don't have car. I don't personally own a car. And don't always have immediate access to a car. My boyfriend has a car. And Simon, he has a car.
Hey, Simon.
Yeah. So that's just my stance on it. And then of course we're gonna do St. Louis Blues. St. Louis Blues fired their head coach. The St. Louis Blues they fired their head coach Craig Berube after a 7-3 or 7-4 loss to Detroit.
6-4.
Berube has 6-4. Okay.
Yeah.
Berube has been the coach for the St. Louis Blues the past 5 years and was behind the bench for their Stanley Cup win in 2019. Springfield Thunderbirds head coach, which is the AHL affiliate of the St. Louis Blues, Drew Bannister, has been named as interim coach. According to the Doug Armstrong, who's the GM of the Blues, if the team finds success in the same way that they had he didn't specifically say, but of course we can assume if the team finds success, aka in the same way that the Oilers did with hiring their new head coach, in that in the bounce back that they've had, find success, he will keep the job. If he's not going to lose his AHL gig if he doesn't have success with the team, but obviously he's going to get first crack at ooh, is that a new suit for Mitch? I don't like.
Ooh. We've not seen that one before. Ooh.
Interesting. It's a nice one. I like the print. Anyways. Here's a tweet from Elliot Friedman. No knives in warm up for Toronto. We knew that though.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just gonna keep getting interrupted by things because we're nearing game start, so we're
we're half an hour.
Yeah, we've got half an hour. We're like, I'm trying to zoom through this. But he will get first crack at his first attempt at potentially getting the job in a sort of a tryout thing. Will this bring change to the Blues though? However, I don't think so. You look at the way the team is constructed, and I don't think it could be coaching, yes, but it also could just be the team is poorly constructed. It's a poorly constructed roster, and then that falls on Doug Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We'll see in the next few games that they play what it all comes down to. Doug Armstrong also hired Brad Richards as a consultant for the power play, which is here's a fun little stat that I don't even know if we have Blues fans who listen to the show, but unfortunately, unless Joseph Wool's listening, unfortunately, the team has more shorthanded goals than power play goals this season so far.
Well then.
Take that as you will. Do you want to talk about the Sabres? And then I have a couple of things I want to run through quick fire 32 thought style.
Yeah, so the Sabres game last night, first off, Eric Johnson returns to Colorado. We all cried. Let's face it, everyone cried. We miss him come home. We had Luukkonen in net, who has, by the way, I just want to point out, yes, they lost, what did they lose? Quite bad. 5-1. They lost 5-1. We had Luukkonen back from an illness that I think a lot of people are like downplaying how bad it was because he lost weight. It was like a serious, it was not a good time for him. So it's like, he's coming back. He's on the road. He's obviously not going to have the best game. And I think people kind of forget that. And I was seeing a lot of people shit on him for it last night, and I'm like, give the poor guy a break. Like, first off, you're not giving him the starts he needs to like stick with it and keep with it and like be consistently good. You're not giving him the starts that he needs to prove that he can. And then it's like they're gonna keep. Sorry, I'm getting your fucking tweet notifications now.
Yeah, that's me. Sorry. You.
And then like there's gonna be this big thing for like, oh, don't send Devon Levi back down. Yes, send him back down. Like when everything's sorted and when everyone's back to normal, send Levi back down, because he did not spend very long in the AHL, which means he very much did not have the time he needed to develop and to work on his game. So it still annoys me, and it has annoyed me every single podcast we've recorded so far, because I do complain about it. I'm just every day at this point. And it's like, keep Levi up until Luukkonen's back, and then just send him back down. Or at this point, if they are going to just like keep Levi back up, just trade Luukkonen, because he is a good goalie. He's had some really good games recently. If you're not going to give him the time that he deserves, then trade him. Because if not, he's just going to end up being, third option. He's not going to get like any time to play, and it's just going to fuck him up for the future. And then we've also, that's my little goalies, little goalie rant over. Nathan MacKinnon, I am in your walls.
Just be careful what you say, because this is a publicly released podcast, and even though I don't think Nathan MacKinnon is listening, we don't want to get in trouble with either the league, the Colorado Avalanche, or Nathan MacKinnon's or Nathan MacKinnon. So just be careful, please. I don't want to get sued.
Nathan MacKinnon, I am in your walls. Like, I know this is quite extreme, but I will replace all your like fucking organic handmade pasta with like the regular people shop bought pasta, and he'll shit himself when he sees it, and I hope he does. I hope he's miserable. And I've not actually said what he's done. Nathan MacKinnon, they got a huge hit on Jeff Skinner that Jeff Skinner did not return to the game from. He's now been placed on IR. And I'm not happy.
Does Nathan MacKinnon even eat like gluten-free pasta? Like, does he even eat pasta? I don't know. I don't even know if he eats. Doesn't he like not like bread? Who does? Is it him who doesn't like bread, and then Cale Makar just really likes Costco?
Yeah, I think so. No, you know what, Nathan MacKinnon? I'm gonna take all your organically grown, handmade.
He's a chickpea guy, isn't he? This is my Nathan MacKinnon lore. Friends with Sidney Crosby and likes chickpeas.
I'm gonna take all your organic, locally grown chickpeas, and I'm gonna replace them with like the cheap 39p cans of chickpeas that I buy from the shop. That's what I'm gonna do. See how he likes that. That's what you get for going anywhere fucking near Jeff Skinner. Because now, not only is Jeff Skinner injured, my fantasy team is gonna take a hit. So, fuck you, Nathan MacKinnon. Yeah.
Oh, we got lines.
Oh.
I don't see anything weird about these. They're the same as the other night, except Reeves is that we're going 12-6, so Reeves is on the fourth line and Lajoie is out.
Oh, bring back Lajoie.
So the other changes really were just that the injury is. Okay, Sheldon, can you stop doing this, please?
It's not.
I know. You came up through Toronto and you learned from Kyle Dubas and are really good at saying stuff while also saying nothing at all. But can you not? Because I thought we were having a trade and I panicked and I started running through who I don't want to lose any of the guys. I don't want to see any guy. Anyways, moving on from that. AHL Chicago Wolves head coach Bob Nardella was suspended 10 games for saying homophobic language during a game on December 9th. In a statement released by Nardella, he denied the allegations but admitted to losing his temper. So we don't know what was said. We can assume as much. We're not going to start listing off potential things that he could have said.
We just say it, it's like going back and forth.
We're not. It's not what we're here to do. This is, again, publicly released podcast. But yeah, just I mean, I'm sure there was probably an appropriate investigation. You can deny things, but that doesn't mean they still didn't happen. I am probably inclined to take the side of the league at this point because suspending a coach 10 games is a pretty major thing, and you probably have multiple eyewitnesses who said this happened, and you can deny things all you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they're any less true. It's unfortunate that happened during a game, especially, in a professional hockey league. But anyways, we move on. Here's some quick fire stuff that I just want to get through that we all have listed that we want to talk about, but it's nothing more than a couple of sentences. Barclay Goodrow of the New York Rangers lost a part of his jaw after taking a puck to the face. Like he took a slap shot to the face, and he said he's on a liquid-only diet for a month and is trying to figure out how he will get the appropriate nutrients. I think he's a fucking warrior because I got a puck to the face and I lost a part of my jaw.
Spat out my jaw.
Spat out his part of his jaw onto the ice. When he was asked about what fell out of his mouth, he said, "I don't know. I hope it wasn't important." Turns out he lost a chunk of his jaw. But yeah, I think that's absolutely animal behavior. He did play against the Leafs on Tuesday and had a full bubble going on. But yeah, also the Pittsburgh Penguins scored on the power play against the Arizona Coyotes in a big win. It was Jeff Carter, big man Jeff Carter, to score on the power play. Also makes him the oldest Pittsburgh Penguin to score on the power play and to score on the to score a shorthanded goal and to score a power play goal in the same game for the franchise. Cool. They also had a 12-round shootout win versus Montreal last night. They're on their dad's trip right now. Went to 12 rounds. They won again. The Penguins won in the 12th round. I watched that shootout, and I will say I was having a blast because it was neither of my teams. I could not give a shit as to who won. I was having the time of my life watching it go for 12 rounds. Ethan Bear is rumored to sign a $2 million 2-year contract with Washington. Nothing official has come out of that. I'm sure it'll take him a while to join back with the team and actually play any games, but it's good to see him coming back from surgery, potentially to have a contract. Eric Johnson returned to Colorado as a Sabre last night for the first time since he left the team in free agency. Gabriel Landeskog was in the crowd with his daughter, and it was a really sweet moment. If you want to cry, go look at the pictures and the videos from that night. It was incredibly sweet. Yeah. The full PWHL rosters were also announced, as well as tickets went on sale this week, including season tickets as well as single game tickets. There's multiple teams already that have already sold out their tickets for their home opener, as well as I think for their season. Like I know Ottawa is like there's not a lot left. Mm-hmm. I haven't bought my tickets yet for any Ottawa games. Unfortunately, it's just because I don't know my schedule and it's finals. I'm worrying about other things right now.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to a PWHL game though. Wild AG assistant general manager Chris O'Hearn has mutually parted ways with the Wild. No further comment from the Minnesota Wild. He was Bill Guerin's right-hand man since 2019. Elliot Freeman said that there's probably more to it. There was also multiple investigations with the internal front office staff of the Minnesota Wild in the past couple of months, so it could be related to that. Apparently, Chris O'Hearn was a subject of one of those investigations. So it's unsure. There's no further comment. We don't know if we'll find anything more. That's just something to note. There's a lot going on in Minnesota right now.
Yeah.
I love Minnesota, though. Minnesota has become endearing to me as a team. I will say I've quickly become I don't know, maybe I am becoming a fan. I keep looking up Minnesota Wild merch on eBay. So I just think, you know,
a fan.
I think I am becoming a fan. I think I am.
I mean, how can you look at Brock Faber and just not?
Exactly, right? I love athletes who wear glasses. As a glasses wearer myself, I love when athletes, not that I'm like, oh yeah, but I do have a special place in my heart for athletes who wear glasses. Fraser Mitten, Owen Power, Brock Faber, little special place in my heart. I'm a big fan of the Deweys. Anyways, yeah, just Dewey.
I see the tweets you sent to the group chat.
Dewey's, Marc-Andre Fleury, who else? Jared Spurgeon is fun. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I am becoming a little bit of a fan of the Minnesota Wild. I've looked up merch on eBay a couple of times already. Kirill Kaprizov, Kirill the Thrill, like. Okay. So
Marilyn is gender fluid lizard, who I'm just obsessed with.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe I don't know. They're becoming very endearing to me. Not gonna lie, I will admit the Wild was always one of those teams that I'm like, they exist. They're there. The same sort of level as Columbus and St. Louis. They're teams that exist. I think it's the Midwest that sort of does that to me. It's just a land it's just space that exists in time. But I will say, I think the Minnesota Wild are quickly becoming very, very endearing to me. I think there's probably something a little bit, like as a Canadian, there's a little bit of a kinship with Minnesota hockey. I get it. Like, feel the same way about it as they do over there. It's a religion. Yeah, that's just something I wanted to say. I had it in the show notes. I wrote this in myself. I referred to myself as a third person in our show notes. I said, Emma is becoming a fan of the Wild. And Marcie let me keep it in there.
I did. After everything you let me waffle on about.
I get to talk about the Wild. Maybe next episode on Monday, I will get to have a long talk about the Wild. Who knows?
You get your Wild segment. I get to keep my Sabres.
Yeah, it's only fair. Sorry. Oh, stop reposting things. It stressed me out. Nathan MacKinnon also reached 800 career points versus Buffalo in the game in which I didn't want to say that while we were talking about Nathan MacKinnon, but he did reach 800 points. Congratulations to MacKinnon on a career milestone. That's all for today, I think. Is that all we got to talk about?
That is everything.
No trades, no nothing. Alrighty. Wow, we did it. Look at us go. Now we're going to go jet off and we're going to go watch the Leafs take on the Columbus Blue Jackets, including Toronto native Adam Fantilli, who has about 100 fans in attendance today, he said. So I think either he is going to score a bunch of goals and get a hat trick, or it's going to be like Sean Durzi when the LA Kings were in town last year and he got booed and then like hit into oblivion. Like I don't know. Do you remember that? I remember that game. I remember that game.
Vaguely.
I remember that game because I think they won, but it was like he got booed. Like it was like, anyways, Toronto draft pick, went to LA, came back he had a bunch of family members in attendance, and then had an awful game in which he didn't score, and then was a subject for a really bad hit. But yeah, thank you for listening. This is From the Fourth Line. You can find us everywhere except for, everywhere on Twitter. At From the Fourth Line. You can follow me at PearB1. You can follow Marcie at 60 Leafs on Twitter. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcast, including on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and Spotify. Thank you for listening. We will see you Monday with another episode. Like always, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.